We watched Attack on Titan, and here are some wild facts and Easter eggs you may not have known. Buckle up, cause we're going to be going through these real quick. Parts of the setting were inspired by Hajime Isayama's life. For example, the walls were inspired by the town he grew up in, which was surrounded by mountains. Eren's desire to go beyond the walls is similar to Isayama's childhood dreams of going beyond the mountains. Another inspiration for the city in Attack on Titan is the German town of Nordlingen. One of the inspiration for the Titans is a drunk customer at a cafe he used to work at. Isayama had trouble communicating with the drunk man, which gave him the idea for the Titans being human-like, but not able to communicate. This series takes a lot of inspiration from Norse mythology as well, borrowing from concepts such as the World Tree and Ragnarok. Ymir's name is also of North origin and belongs to a creature that's said to be the father of all giants, which makes sense when you consider how Ymir was allegedly the first Titan shifter. Remember the two captured Titans that were named Sunny and Bean? Well, they're named after a real-life serial killer named Sonny Bean, who allegedly led a clan of cannibals in the 16th century Scotland. In the manga, Hange Zoe wasn't a woman. Instead, their gender is left ambiguous and up to the reader's interpretation. The live-action films and the anime made them a woman, though. Peakfinger was sketched as a middle-aged man named Oliver Peak earlier in production, but changed in the final product. Isayama has also mentioned that the Cart Titan was partially inspired by the Zoids franchise. We can see the resemblance, but the Cart Titan is much more horrifying. In The Simpsons episode Treehouse of Horror 25, we can see Lisa dressed up as Mikasa. The other Simpsons also appear as famous anime characters like Bart as Naruto or Homer as Zoro. The world of Attack on Titan is similar to ours when you look at the map. Marley is actually just the continent of Africa flipped upside down. This could be a reference to Hunter x Hunter, which also just rotates around real continents for its world map. There's an 8-page one-shot called Attack on Avengers that's a crossover between Attack on Titans and the Marvel Comics universe. Part of the reason Eren has black hair is because Isayama thought it would be easier to add speed lines around him during action scenes. The design for the Armored Titan was based on mixed martial artist and pro wrestler Brock Lesnar. And that's not all though, Eren's Titan form is based on Japanese MMA fighter Yushin Okami. One panel of the manga sneaks in a cameo from the classic Stephen King monster Pennywise the Clown in a huge crowd shot. According to Isayama, most of the cast doesn't actually bathe that often. It's pretty gross, but makes sense when you consider the world inside the walls is on a medieval level of technology. The main exception is probably Levi, since we all see how much that guy loves to clean. Despite most of the cast canonically stinking, there was once a line of Attack on Titan themed perfumes released. Quite the odd bit of merchandise. We also found some official cover art featuring the cast of Attack on Titan recreating the iconic poster for the Breakfast Club. Eren looks like he was left out of the group photo, but his dejected expression and uniform makes him look like Shinji from Evangelion. We found some crazy foreshadowing all the way back in chapter 1. Eren's first line to Mikasa is asking her when her hair got long. This is foreshadowing for Eren's future sight and time travel. It's crazy that Isayama had this planned from the start. Another cool bit of foreshadowing comes from when we see a young Zeke playing with a toy gorilla. This, of course, is foreshadowing for Zeke being the Beast Titan. Kenny Ackerman has some interesting inspirations behind him. First, his nickname Kenny the Ripper is a reference to real-life serial killer Jack the Ripper. This, plus his job in the military police, seem to reference a theory that the real Jack the Ripper was killing people as part of a government conspiracy. Kenny is also modeled after Trevor Phillips, one of the protagonists from Grand Theft Auto 5. If you play the game, then you'll know just how violent and unstable Trevor can be. Isayama has also said that Falco was partially inspired by Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. Early sketches of Falco also revealed that his last name was going to be Bach instead of Grice. Isayama seems to be a huge Breaking Bad fan, actually. There's even a Titan that appears to be modeled after the character Saul Goodman. He's also a big Game of Thrones fan, and one chapter of the manga includes several Game of Thrones characters like Tyrion Lannister as Titans. Did you know that Sasha was originally supposed to die at the end of Volume 9? Apparently, Isayama's editor cried after reading the first draft of the chapter, which convinced Isayama to spare Sasha. Honestly, we're glad he didn't kill off Sasha too. Apparently, one of the only characters that Isayama had no real plans for at first was Historia. He figured creating a Moe type of character would be popular, so that's where Krista came in. He didn't know what to do with her until the Royal Government arc, where she got some major development. The Malaysian version of Attack on Titan has a strange case of censorship. For some reason, shorts have been drawn on all the Titans, which is honestly pretty funny. Some fans have said that Gabi looks like a female version of Eren, and that's because she is. Her design is partially based on a sketch of a gender-bent Eren Yeager that Isayama once did. Like with Falco, Gabi initially had a different surname. In her case, it was going to be Lubke instead of Brown. Levi looks like a pretty young man, but Isayama said that he is surprisingly old, and going on to say that he's older than 30. His official age has never been confirmed. We all know that Levi isn't very tall, but his stature is partially inspired by the classic anime hero Astro Boy, as well as the character Kyuzo from the film Seven Samurai. Levi's height and somewhat strange personality are also partially inspired by the character Rorschach from the graphic novel Watchmen. That's not the only Watchmen influence either. Erwin is physically modeled after Ozymandias from Watchmen. Not to mention how both characters are incredibly cunning. Another one of Erwin's influences is a real-life German field marshal Erwin Rommel. He was a prominent figure during World War II and was involved in a failed plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. Erwin's birthday of October 14th is also the same day the real Erwin Rommel died. On a less serious note, part of Erwin's appearance comes from a very surprising source. Apparently, he's also modeled after one of the actors in the video for the Paris Hilton song Paris for President. Another character based on music from the 2000s is Annie. Isayama has said that her hair is based on photos of Canadian pop-punk musician Avril Lavigne. We found a movie called Attack on Titan from 2022 that's totally unrelated to the anime. It's a sci-fi film about Saturn's moon of Titan. The company behind this movie is the Asylum, who is known for making low-budget movies that try to sound like bigger-budget movies, like Transmorphers or Alien vs. Hunter. Marco was quite brutally bitten in half by a Titan. It may seem like a stretch, but this could be a JoJo reference. During Battle Tendency, we met a similarly named soldier called Mark, who was also killed and just left with one half of his body remaining. Another darkly humorous thing about Marco is his birthday. It's listed as June 16th. Seems fairly innocuous until you realize it's exactly halfway through the year. Attack on Titan has actually been banned in China due to its extreme violence. Other violent animes such as Tokyo Ghoul and Corpse Party have also been banned in China. Isayama is known for including fake previews at the end of most of the manga volumes. They're pretty funny, and anime-only fans are missing out. The pilot version of AOT, known as Attack on Titan Volume 0, is very different from the final version. One of the biggest surprises is that the ODM gear didn't exist. Instead, regular humans were just capable of jumping like that on their own. Another early idea that was scrapped was Eren having always known he was a Titan. We're glad it changed. It's more interesting having him find out himself. You may have noticed the strange clear third eyelid that Eren has in his Titan form. This is called a nictitating membrane and can be found in the real world on species such as sharks, eagles, and alligators. Attack on Titan may also be older than you think. The original pilot one-shot came out in 2006 and the manga began serialization in 2009. 4 whole years before the anime. Reiner's appearance comes from 2 surprising sources. He's mainly modeled after Matt Damon's character in the film Saving Private Ryan, but he also has some aspects of the English soccer player David Beckham mixed in. Attack on Titan's manga has sold over 100 million copies, which makes it the 14th best-selling manga of all time. As a bonus fact, the top 3 best-selling manga are One Piece, Golgo 13, and Detective Conan. Mikasa is referred to as being worth 1,000 soldiers. This is a reference to the legendary female warrior Tomoe Gozen, who is said to be worth 1,000 men on the battlefield. Not only that, but Mikasa is also named after a Japanese battleship that was used during the Russo-Japanese War. In Attack on Titan's first opening, we can see a scout doing a backflip with his ODM gear. It wasn't meant to be any specific character, but fans noticed a striking resemblance to Jean. Season 2 included a nod to this fan theory when Jean can be seen performing the same backflip while fighting the female Titan. Speaking of Jean, he's actually Isayama's favorite character. At one point, he changed his answer to Reiner, but most recently, he's changed it back to Jean again. Isayama initially wanted Attack on Titan to run in Weekly Shonen Jump, but it was rejected for its extreme violence. Instead, it was picked up by the Basetsu Shonen magazine. Originally, Isayama planned to have the manga end with everyone dying. He changed his mind later on, but after how controversial the actual ending was, I think it's safe to say the fandom would have been pretty split over the ending no matter what. And this might be somewhat a cute fact, sometimes Annie mumbles whoosh in her sleep. This is because she's dreaming about kicking trees. We know this was a lot, but did any of these facts surprise you? Be sure to let us know and don't forget to subscribe.